Hey, what's up? Scott Lindsay here, and I'm going to do a recipe for gluten-free gumbo. So I'm from Louisiana, and I love gumbo. It's one of my favorite things to eat. And a good Louisiana saying is the way to tell if it's a good gumbo, if about an hour after you eat it, you burp, and you say, man, I got to get some more of that gumbo. That is a good gumbo, because your burps taste good. All right. So this is a gluten-free gumbo, and of course we have to start with the roux, and I'm using this gluten-free baking flour, and so I'm going to do about a half a cup and just put that in there, and then half a cup of vegetable oil, put that in there as well, and of course we're going to have to just wisp this and wisp this, just keep doing it and doing it and doing it. The longer you go, the darker it's going to get, and I prefer a really dark roux. So I'm going to crank this up and we'll check. Yeah, so once everything's mixed, you know, the vegetable oil and the flour, I'm just going to be here for a while doing this, and it's not going to burn it, but I'm just going to cook this flour in this oil until it becomes brown. Yep, so you can see we're still wisping away, and it's getting a little darker, but got the fan on above. It's pretty hot. This is really hot. It's got a gas fire, which is important, I feel, but just wisp away, wisping and then. Oh, hey, yeah, so I'm still wisping away on this, but I have something else that adds a lot of flavor. So in Louisiana, my grandma, bacon grease, man, bacon grease all the way. So my grandmother would have a jar of bacon grease in the refrigerator. And so if it's a true gumbo, it's going to have just a little bit of everything in there. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to add this bacon grease with some more flour. So I'm just going to pour this in there. Put some more flour in there. Yeah, get all that stuff. And we have bacon. So a little more flour, and bacon is gluten-free, so, oh yeah, man, bacon. So I added a little bit more, but I reduced it down. I actually removed some of the other to get it going, but yeah, this is, it's starting to come alive now. So I'm going to cook this down to, I want it really thick and really dark, but you can see that bacon grease. Oh man, and it smells good. This smells like gumbo. This is awesome. So yeah, you have to really just keep churning this and keep, because it's going to thicken up, you know, but it's starting to really smell. As you can see, it's getting really dark, so it's starting to smell a lot like a gumbo and getting really thick. It's just beautiful. Yeah, so it's been maybe 20 minutes now, a little more. And you just keep whisping, man. So it's pretty dark now. And I had to put the glove on because I'm using the fire, and so it gets pretty hot. But that's looking seriously, good. You have to do a lot of this. It looks like chocolate now. It's good, man. It's getting good. So I'm browning the chicken here to get some flavor in it, searing the outside of it, and I used this here Raging Cajun Fixins Cajun seasoning. I just put a little bit of that on there. Get it going, and as you can see, the roux is really dark, almost looks like chocolate. really thick, and I'm probably not going to use all of this in the gumbo that I'm making. I'm going to use about 3/4 of it, and the rest of it, maybe a quarter, third of it, whatever, I save for other recipes like soups. It's really good in a crock pot for a beef stew or something. It just adds a good base to it. But that is the roux, and that is gluten-free. Oh yeah, I have my wife cutting vegetables in the background. How cool is that? She's the vegetable lady. So I've cut up all the chicken, and these were 3 packages of the chicken fingers, whatever they call them, with the seasoning, and it's really good just by itself. And then of course over here, I've got some diced ham with, of course, some more bacon. And I just want to sear all this stuff so it kind of seals the flavors in. Usually I like the ham a little smaller, but when I cook this, it should kind of cook down a little bit, become smaller, but you got to have the bacon in there. All right, so I got the onions here with the ham and the bacon. So this is almost three onions, and then I've got my 3 stalks of celery, and then 1 big bell pepper. So we've got our trinity here. Onion. And I'm going to cook this down, and it's going to start smelling really good in here. And too bad you can't smell it. So here's a little trick. This is the Andouille sausage. I'm going to do about 1.5 of these. I like a lot of meat in my gumbo, but scissors, man. I used to try the knife thing, and it just, it's kind of a pain in the butt, but perfect slices, big scissors, done deal. Andouille sausage, very important. All right, so it's been like an hour and a half maybe, so everything is here. I've got my roux, I've got the trinity, and I've added some ham in this with some bacon, and I've got my andouille sausage. So it's important, you want to kind of sear that gets the flavor inside of it. I've got my chicken here, and there's other ingredients, but we're about to put it all together now. You'll also see that I had a lot of this stuff. We've got a fashion model. I've taken some of this out, and I'm going to put that aside for other things that I'll make, like some soups or things like that. So that's going aside. We've got 3 onions, 1 bell pepper, 3 stalks of celery, and 1.5 andouille sausage. I've got 1 can of stewed tomatoes. I'm going to go ahead and just, ooh, sexy. And then got that in there, as well as some okra. Now, this is an important ingredient because it gives you the slime factor of gumbo. So we're going to go ahead and put that in there. I'm not going to use the whole bag, just maybe a little bit of the bag. Now we're going to get to, for gluten-free gumbo, we need 4 cups of water and like 5 cubes of bouillon, but bouillon always has MSG in it or things like that. So what we're going to do is we're going to mix some beef stock. So I'm going to do about a little more than a cup of beef stock, as well as a little more of a cup of the chicken stock. And as they say in Louisiana, ooh-wee, yeah, a little to grow on. And we've got 1/4 of a cup of Worcestershire. It's a lot. Ooh-wee, as they say in Louisiana. So we got 1/4 cup of that. And my daughter loves gumbo, so you'd want to put quite a bit of butter in there, but this is the no dairy butter, because my daughter loves Disney. What's the character? Who's
Tiana?
Tiana. Yeah, Tiana. So I still need more liquid. So I've got 2 cups of, 1 cup of the beef stock and 1 cup of the chicken. So I'm going to put 2 cups of water in here. You know, I just always kind of add a little more to it because we've got a lot of roux in there. And now we're going to start adding everything else. Look at that. And I use the same pan to cook the bacon, the chicken, and so it's all blended in there really good. Beautiful. Good seasoning. Dump the sausage in there. Get a look now. It's starting to really come alive.
Don't forget the garlic.
A little bit of vino tinto. And as my wife says, don't forget the garlic. So that was 8 cloves of garlic. And some parsley. Right. Parsley flakes. I mean, it's always best to get the real fresh stuff, but you want to put some of this on once you're done as well as a garnish. And Gumbo File, yeah. And that should be it. We're just gonna put some Raging Cajun on top of this. And I might add a little more water depending on how dark it is. But we're going to crank this up and just let this simmer. And can't forget this, as my daughter loves this. We're going to put some bay leaves in there because it's always a surprise when you get to make a wish. And she always gets these. So that's really funny how she does that. But we can't forget the chicken. I'm not going to put all the chicken in there. I'm going to freeze some of it because I like to have this stuff on the side. So just sliced up. That was, like I said, that's 3 packages of the chicken fingers. And again, I cooked those on the stove. And I stir it all up. And again, it's looking pretty dark and it's looking pretty thick as far as vegetables and stuff like that. So I'm probably going to add a little more beef stock as well as probably some more water. But it's a gumbo. There's just do it. You just do it. So we'll let this simmer for a while. And I'll probably put the lid on it to keep the liquid in there. But man, this is it. Like an hour and a half later, I guess, maybe? Hour? Yeah, so I cooked this, the roux for quite a while. And again, it all comes down to the roux. The roux is the key. You want it dark, you want it black, at least the way I like it. It has so much flavor in it. Again, this is gluten-free, so no bouillon, no beef bouillon, and no, obviously flour. We use the gluten-free flour, which is this stuff right here. Sodium-free, wheat-free, gluten-free, and that's it. I'll put all the ingredients down below on the description. But I'm going to let this cook for 30-40 minutes, and we'll give it a try. But it's always best leftover. And remember, the way to tell if it's a good gumbo, if you burp like an hour later and you're like, man, that's a good gumbo. I got to eat some more of that gumbo. That's a good gumbo. Your stomach is telling you that's a good gumbo. Cheers.
Man, this is the gumbo. Do you want to know this gumbo?
Is this it?
Yeah.
You've been eating that?
Mm-hmm.
You like gumbo, don't you? Did you get a bay leaf?
Yeah.
You did? And you made wishes?
Uh-huh.
Oh, yeah?
3 times.
3 times? 3 wishes? That's awesome. Let me see. Mmm, that's dark, isn't it?
Don't eat it.
Mmm.
Taste.